Okay, so I am watching this, or I watch this. It's one of those things, right? Getting the English present tenses perfect can be, well, a little tricky. But today, we're going to unlock the four main ones that trip people up. And I promise, by the end of this, you're going to know exactly when to use each one and why. So let's jump right in.
And that's a fantastic question, isn't it? I mean, why does English have to be so complicated? Four different ways to talk about right now? Well, the truth is, each one gives us a totally unique perspective on time. Just stick with me here, and you'll see that every single one has a really specific and actually pretty powerful job to do. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by comparing now versus always. Then we'll look at how we can connect the past to the present. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of experience versus a specific moment. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the difference between focusing on the result of something versus how long it took. Sound good?
All right, let's dive in. We're starting with the absolute basics, the foundation of it all, the huge contrast between now and always. This is all about the present simple versus the present continuous. Honestly, if you can nail this one difference, you're already halfway to mastering the present tense.
Okay, so here's the main idea, the big difference. The present simple, that's for things that are permanent. Think about habits, facts, stuff that's just always true. But the present continuous, that's for things that are temporary, actions happening right now or around now. It really just boils down to always versus now. Let's look at how this plays out in a real sentence. If I say, he drinks coffee, what does that tell you? It's his habit, right? He's a coffee drinker in general. But if I say, he is drinking coffee, well, you can practically picture him with a cup in his hand at this very moment. See that? Two tenses, two completely different mental images. And this choice you make has some real power behind it. For example, if you say, I live in Paris, everyone listening assumes that's your permanent home. But change just one thing and say, I am living in Paris, and suddenly it sounds temporary, like you're just there for a few months. It's amazing how one little grammatical change can shift the entire meaning, isn't it? Now, like with any good grammar rule, there's always an exception you gotta watch out for. In this case, it's something called stative verbs. Basically, these are verbs that describe states, not actions. A really easy way to think about it is, can you see someone doing it? Like, you can't really see someone in the act of knowing something or wanting something. Those are states of being. That's a stative verb. So because these verbs are all about a state, not an action, we almost never, ever use them with that ing ending. You just wouldn't say, I am knowing the answer. It sounds, well, wrong. You just say, I know the answer. So the rule of thumb is, for stative verbs, you're going to stick with the present simple. Okay, so we've got a handle on now versus always. But what about those tricky situations? You know, when something started in the past, but it still matters right now. Well, for that, we need to bring in the big guns, the perfect tenses. And trust me, they have a very, very special job. Honestly, the absolute best way to picture the perfect tenses is to think of them as a bridge. That's their entire purpose. They build this connection, this bridge, from something that happened in the past all the way to the present moment. They're all about showing how the past is still connected to and affecting what's happening right now. And that bridge leads us directly to what might be one of the biggest, most confusing parts for anyone learning English: the difference between the present perfect and the simple past. It seems complicated, but it really all boils down to one simple question. Does this specific time of the action actually matter? So here's the rule, and it's actually pretty straightforward. If you're talking about something in the past and the exact time isn't specified or just isn't important, you use the present perfect. The focus is on the experience itself. But the moment you're talking about a specific finished point in time, you have to switch. You have to use the simple past. Think about it like this. If I say I have seen that movie, I'm just telling you about a life experience. When did I see it? Who cares? It's not important. But the second I add a specific time marker, like last night, everything changes. That action is now locked into a finished moment in the past, and my verb has to change with it. It becomes, I saw that movie last night. Here's another great way to look at it. Is the story finished or unfinished? If I say, I have lived in Tokyo, the story feels open, doesn't it? For all you know, I might still be living there right now. But if I say, I lived in Tokyo, that chapter is clearly closed. It's done. The action is completely, totally finished.
All right, we're on to our final comparison, and this one's a little more subtle, a little more advanced. We're going to look at the two perfect tenses side by side, the present perfect simple versus the present perfect continuous. And the key difference between these two, it's all about focus. So when you're choosing between them, it's all about what you want to emphasize. You just have to ask yourself, what's the most important part of my sentence? Is it the result? The fact that something is finished? If so, you'll use the present perfect simple. Or is the most important part the process, the duration, the time you spent doing it? In that case, you're going to need the present perfect continuous. Check out how this works. If I say I have read that book, the focus is totally on the result, the achievement. It's done, I finished it. But if I say I have been reading that book, the whole focus shifts to the activity, to the process. It's telling you how I've been spending my time lately. And the implications are totally different. I have read implies completion. It's a finished product. You can almost put a little check mark next to it. But I have been reading emphasizes the ongoing activity, the time spent, and it strongly suggests that I'm probably not finished yet. You can almost feel the difference in energy between the two, right? And hey, just when you thought you were in the clear, remember our old friend, the stative verb rule? Well, guess what? It's back. And yep, it applies right here to the perfect continuous tenses too.
So because a verb like know is a state verb, we just can't put it in that continuous form. Even if we're talking about duration, like for 5 years, you would never say, I have been knowing him. It's a no-go. Instead, you have to use the present perfect simple and say, I have known him for 5 years.
All right, so let's pull it all together in a quick summary. Think of this as your present tense toolkit. First up, present simple. That's for your habits and facts, the always stuff. Then, present continuous, for actions happening right now, the temporary stuff. Next, present perfect simple, for past actions that have result or relevance in the present. And finally, present perfect continuous, all about the duration of an action that started in the past and leads up to now.
So, I'll leave you with one final thought to put this all into practice. Think about what you're doing at this exact second. You are watching this explainer. What tense is that? You see, the very act of thinking about it means you're already using these tenses, and that's the best way to really master them.